Hello, and welcome back to Philosophy, the podcast where I talk about why we feel the way we do while I am painting. Today I'm going to be trying to continue the lady in my painting of an old couple kissing while I'm talking about quite a personal topic, actually. The thing that I want to talk about today is about, is medicine or being a doctor selfish? And in general about the guilt and the selfishness associated with medicine in my personal experience. So yeah, it's going to be quite a personal one. I think I'm going to be opening up quite a bit about the different things that I felt in medicine along my path. So it's going to be a bit of a story time about my path in medicine, the way that I've changed my mind about my medical career and how I felt all the time surrounding it, and especially kind of an exploration about how I feel right now. I'm not sure how I feel right now, I'll say that immediately, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to be exploring. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? So basically, for a bit of context, I just finished my third out of 5 years of medical school a few months ago, and then this year I'm not continuing my studies. I've applied for a kind of interruption in my studies and I'm taking a pause. The specific reason for the pause was because of my health. I have been quite unwell in my last year. I was coping, but just not coping too well with everything in my life, basically. So I kind of made the decision to take a break and hopefully get better before I resume medicine again. However, during this break already, there are parts of me that are starting to wonder what it would be like not to go back to medicine, and there's huge parts of me which feel very, very guilty surrounding that, and I just wanted to explore this in full. So for a bit of context, since I was quite young, I always knew I wanted to be a surgeon. I don't know why exactly in the beginning, but there was this huge appeal to medicine for me, and especially specifically surgery. I think maybe it's because I like art, that I always like working with my hands, and I always thought that being in a theatre would be the absolute coolest thing in the world to do, and it would be just like the perfect job. And I remember that every single time that I would meet a doctor when I was younger, which was not too often, unfortunately, but every time I would meet a doctor, me or my parents would tell them, oh, by the way, Elizabeth, she wants to be a doctor. And without fail, every single one of those doctors would say, please don't do it. Don't do it. I really would not want my children to become doctors. I don't want them to become doctors. And it would be so shocking for me. I would always wonder why they said that. And it still is quite shocking for me, I think. Maybe it was because those doctors were quite tired at the moment, or they just weren't having a good time recently with their work or something like that. But in my mind, I never took that personally. I never heard that. If anything, it just spurred me on a bit harder. And I thought, well, I'm just going to, prove to this person I've met 30 seconds ago. But basically in my mind, I was like, well, they don't know me, which is true. They don't know me, and they don't know what I'm like. And I know that medicine is perfect for me. And at the time, I genuinely did think that medicine would be the perfect job for me, especially surgery in particular. I liked working with my hands. I loved studying. When I was younger, I always was convinced that I never wanted to have any children, and so I thought nothing would be more perfect than just having a job that would be all-consuming. I've always been a workaholic, so the thought of a job that kind of promotes that, a job where the more you work, the better it is for people. There's no guilt there. I just thought I think I've always been made to feel guilty about wanting to work so hard, and I thought that medicine in a way would be such a good escape because I would be helping people. No one can be mad. Any extra bit of work that I do can potentially contribute towards helping someone improve their life. So it felt like this escape wherein all this guilt that I had kind of associated with not wanting to do other things that people wanted to do, and just wanting to work and study and read and not have a family and not work hard, could just be justified by this thing which was medicine. And therefore I was super, super passionate about doing medicine in general. I thought if I don't get into surgery at some point I'm just going to leave medicine in general. I never wanted to be any other kind of doctor. So I was like very tunnel vision down this path. Even when I started medical school, my very first year, I remember I walked up to a surgeon and I asked them, hey, can I scrub into theatre with you? And they were like, yeah. So I used to scrub into theatre all the time with surgeons for my very first year. We weren't even having like medical training then in hospital. It was supposed to be preclinical, but I would be in surgery, I would be in theatre, and I would be loving it. It was the best thing ever. I was absolutely thriving. I was so excited because I realized, oh, you know, I'm not throwing up, and which is ridiculous. If you do throw up the first time, it's absolutely fine. Lots of people do that. Or if you faint, you can get used to it. It's not a big deal. But to me, it just confirmed in my very childish brain that, you know what, this is perfect. This just proves, you know, that I'm supposed to be a surgeon, and it just works. And all those doubts that I had, lingering doubts that I had before, whether, you know, I'd be actually comfortable in theatre and things like that, just disappeared as I realized that this was going to be the perfect job for me. So I was reading surgical books, like really old surgical books. It's some very cool ones that just like, you know, explain how different surgeries happened for the first time and the history of them, and you know, the names of the little like cutting sites, and just, you know, how surgery progresses and all of these things. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And from this state in my first and second year, something I think happened in my third year where things started to change, and I think that had a huge association with kind of me changing my mind on what I wanted to do with my life. I knew in the back of my mind that my workaholism was an issue, and I started to work on it. I started to work on my perfectionism and my workaholism, a bit less on my perfectionism. I'm working on that a lot more this year, but I started to work on my workaholism a bit, and I started to change my perspective, I think, in the sense that I got to the point where suddenly, from being the sort of person that would kind of like challenge people saying that, hey, I'm not going to change my mind on not wanting a family, I became just like determined, and to think that, oh no, I really want children. I really want a big family like the one I have. And that created just a huge shift in my mind. And that change in lifestyle, again, it's not I'm not trying to say that surgery is incompatible with having a family. One of my favorite female surgeons is a neurosurgeon, and she has 4 children, and I'm sure she's a wonderful mother. So I'm not saying that it's not compatible, but the lifestyle that I started to imagine in my mind was one where I could just read to my children every night, or most nights, where I could make them breakfast sometimes and cook for them and bake with them, and be around them in a way that surgery wouldn't potentially allow. And I think maybe because I got into kind of medicine later in life, a lot of my friends were getting pregnant and having babies, and I think that kind of prompted me to think, oh no, is this the right thing? Am I going to want to do this when I'm in my 30s? Am I going to want to maintain that level of being in hospital and that level of training when I'm in my 30s? And again, I know that it is so pointless to think of, you know, your training specialty when you are in your second or third year of medicals. They're absolutely pointless. My mind's probably going to change. And if I were to continue with medicine, or let's say when I continue with medicine, when I'm sure my mind is going to change back and forth so many times. And I do recognize that this is not me, you know, setting things in stone. And the most naive thing was me thinking that I was going to become a surgeon back then, and maybe I'll flip back to wanting to do it. And I'm just trying to explain kind of the thoughts and feelings I had around things, while I do recognize the whole time that, you know, maybe I'll change my mind, or maybe I just can't have children, or there's so many things that could factor in here. And I just want to say that I do recognize those things, but taking it, you know, just talking purely on my thoughts and feelings around the time, I think when I thought that maybe I didn't want to be a surgeon, basically, that was the first time that I had a huge guilt associated with medicine, and the first time that I felt incredibly selfish. I felt selfish because I was choosing my own lifestyle over a job that helps people. And I'd never done that before. Again, although arguably in the first time I was choosing a lifestyle, it was the lifestyle that I wanted, to be in hospital all the time and to just like work all the time and study all the time. It was a lifestyle choice in the beginning, but it was backed up by the fact that you're also helping people, so there was no issue there. But when I went the other way and I thought, oh, what if I don't do this? I felt so guilty. And I think that was the first time that I had a huge guilt associated with medicine in general. I've had small bits here and there when, for example, I'll read a book about a doctor who travels and goes to like underprivileged countries and does surgeries on kids to like help cleft lip or something that people can't do, and it's the most beautiful thing, and it seems like it would be the most fulfilling thing in the world. And then I started to get guilt, thinking, well, why would I work in this country then? Why would I work in the NHS when I could help more people somewhere else? And I don't know if I just got too deep into it, but I started getting all of this guilt around choosing to do things in the medical field that suited my lifestyle rather than being completely altruistic. And I'm not saying I'm completely altruistic. I'm really not. People ask me, why are you not vegan? Why don't you donate to this charity? Why don't you volunteer at the pet shelter? Obviously, I can't do everything, and there's a lot of other things that I could potentially do if I really tried that I don't do. So why is it just with medicine that this thing is very, very so closely associated? So that was the first time that I fell back onto thinking, oh, maybe I want to work in emergency medicine, or maybe I want to work in neurology, which are two fields that, or anesthesiology, three fields that I absolutely love in medicine still. So I still had that kind of fallback onto other medical fields. So it was fine. I was safe. I was concerned a bit in that I'd definitely changed my mind a lot regarding surgery, and I was kind of very ashamed of myself. To myself, because I've become exactly that thing that I was trying to prove for so long that I wasn't, and I was just very ashamed. I felt very, very weak, and just terrible. I felt selfish. The next time that I felt incredibly selfish was yesterday. I had a long conversation with Ali regarding medicine, and although I don't agree with a lot of his views on medicine in general, there's one that I'm just struggling so much to not agree with. My gut instinct and my feeling is that I definitely don't agree with this thing. I don't like it at all. But if you're listening to this and you have any sort of arguments that would help me kind of make sense of this, I would be so, so grateful if you could share those, because I definitely need them. Basically, Ali's argument was that if you are in a position like his or mine, I would be selfish to stay in medicine. And it would be a lot less selfish of me to continue doing social media stuff and teaching stuff and what I'm doing right now. And I hate that. But I think I slightly agree with it. And I think he got me to agree with it. So basically his line of reasoning was that a lot more lives are saved by donating money to I think the statistics are that a doctor saves. I hate these statistics, by the way. I hate these statistics. I have no idea how they're measured. I have a video with Ali if you want to hear my full opinions on this, which I go into a deep dive on. Like, the impact of a doctor is not just measured by lives saved, and there's so much small changes that people can do that just are not accounted for. But if we say that the impacts of if we measure the impacts of a doctor based on lives saved, the average doctor saves something like 7 lives, I think. I don't know where the statistics are from on that. I'll try to find them and link them below. But so the average doctor saves 7 lives, and I think the average, if you donate to the malaria foundation, you save, I think, a life for every $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. So technically, if you just donate a certain amount of money, you would be saving a lot more lives than you would be by actually being a doctor. And for example, when Ali made this video about this, the malaria foundation, he raised, I think, something like $1 million or pounds for it, which is absolutely so inspiring and incredible. So in a way, one can argue, he's done his bit. If he would have never created the social media profile, if he was working in hospital instead of working online, then these lives would not have been saved potentially. And he has had a much bigger impact on the world through social media than he has by physically being in hospital. And if we add to that the fact that, for example, I've started to get this where I will get maybe like 10 or 20 emails a day, or if I post a newsletter or something, like a lot more emails from people saying that I've changed their life. And although I'm not going to go into the imposter syndrome and the fact that I literally can't believe this, but it's the sort of thing that as a doctor, a lot of my friends are doctors, and as a doctor you would get that quite rarely. Unfortunately, you don't get that often. A lot of what a doctor does is like basic tasks and admin and things like that, so you don't really get to, at least, I hate myself for saying this, but at least don't get the impression, because I disagree. I think that there is a much bigger impact that you're making as a doctor, but at least you don't get the impression of making such a change in medicine. And one could also argue that by doing things online and on social media, you are actually impacting and reaching a huge number of people. The things that you produce, people can listen to again and again and later, and the amount of people that you can kind of impact and help is essentially limitless. So once a doctor has a platform, through donating a percentage of their income, through promoting positive things, through discussing medicine, through just trying to improve people's health and life, through teaching, through all of these different things, they could potentially both improve the quality of people's lives and literally save lives a lot more than they would be doing in medicine. And this was the argument that Ali was putting forward, and it would actually therefore be more selfish for this doctor to say, no, what I want is, and this is definitely what I think, no, what I want is the personal pleasure. What I want is to be in hospital. What I want is to be in scrubs. What I want is to talk to that patient and the patient's family. That's what I want. And then, isn't that selfish? Isn't that selfish? I know I thought, well, what if everyone did this? But realistically, everyone is not going to do this. And if we're talking about a specific set of people, then yes, then maybe those people should not be in medicine, was the argument. And in terms of utilitarianism, if my goal is to improve as many people's lives as possible while I am on this earth, or save as many lives as possible when I am on this earth, obviously I wouldn't be a doctor. That's not the way to go about it. I would go into public health, or I would go into like finance and raise enough money to go to like decent charities or create decent charities for the money to go to. I wouldn't be doing medicine. Medicine is such an inefficient way in that sense. And that's when I think I realized that I'm a selfish person. I'm such a selfish person, because despite knowing that, okay, the numbers are there and I would be saving more people's lives by helping and donating and doing social media, it's as though I'm saying that, no, I don't want to save more people's lives. What I want to do is have the selfish pleasure of being in hospital myself. And because it's true, that's what I want. I do want the selfish pleasure of being in hospital myself, because that's how I love to, spend my time being around patients. And it just made me feel terrible, because I think I always considered medicine kind of a selfless endeavor. And to think that this, joking around and editing videos and just talking about random things that I like could have as much of an impact, or potentially more of an impact, than medicine. I can't say that. I can't say that. No, I can't agree with that. I can't. Even if donating, even if it's like the malaria, I can't say it. There's just a part of me that just cannot accept that is the case. It feels as though I'm discrediting the type of work that doctors do and the amount of work that doctors put in, and comparing it to literally joking around on the internet, which is just something that makes me so deeply uncomfortable. And I feel like I hate utilitarianism for causing this level of discomfort. But yeah, I don't know. Is it selfish? Is it selfish to be a doctor? Is your time, if someone tells you this and they tell you that, hey, you could either, film this video, make a few £1,000s, donate those few £1,000s and save X amount of lives, or you could go to hospital today, put in a few cannulas, which is reducing hospital, please. I hate myself for saying it, but reducing hospital to, basic tasks. And you can do this and then, save 0.0000 lives, because it's just one of your work days and chances are nothing major is going to happen. What would you do? And what should you do? And can I accept that it is my selfish desire to be the person there to help others, to be the one who causes the change? That's the reason why I want to do medicine. And on top of that, the only reason that I don't want to do medicine potentially is just the lifestyle. Like I said, I do dream of having a family, and by being away now, I've achieved a sort of balance in my life in terms of work. And well, maybe that's probably not true. I haven't balanced my work out, but I think
I've seen what it is like to wake up late a few days in a row, and I imagine what it could be like if I would have a family in that condition. And I think I like it. And the thought that medicine is perhaps not the right lifestyle choice, or leaving medicine for a lifestyle choice, thinking that I don't want to dedicate so much of my time taking exams in my 30s when I could be dedicating my time to something that feels more fulfilling in a way, like a family, is so terrifying. So how does one make that lifestyle choice? How, I know like medicine part-time sounds like such a horrible thing, but why does it sound like a horrible thing? And it's not possible for many kind of specialties, but I don't know. It all feels so hard, I think. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop there because this was a very in-depth ramble. I think also quite a long one. But yeah, I think those are my thoughts on medicine right now, and my fears actually on medicine right now. And I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts, like both as a doctor or not as a doctor. I think this is the only topic that I, with all my heart, would love to hear. What do you think? Is it selfish? Is it selfish to be a doctor if you have leverage, if you have reach, and if you can have impacts? Is it selfish to go back to medicine? Is it selfish to not want to do medicine because of the lifestyle that you want to have? Is it selfish to want to do medicine just because you want to help people directly and you don't want to help people indirectly by doing social media or by donating? Is that a selfish choice? Is it consciously choosing to save less lives because I want to be the person in hospital? Is that selfish? But yeah, that's kind of what I've been wondering. That's what I'm struggling with right now, and that's what I would love some help on. But yeah, as far as jobs go, in the end of the day, there's nothing that I would commute for except medicine. There's nothing I think that I would be able to do in terms of a serious job except medicine. There's nothing that I love reading about and working on more than medicine. So yeah, at least I know that for sure. I just think I've gotten into overthinking in a way that I've dug myself in a hole that I don't really know how to get out of easily. So yeah, I'm going to stop this here. If you made it so far, thank you so much for listening to my ramble. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself and others, and don't believe everything you think. Thanks. Bye.